fact, joining this meeting right now, you had to plan yourself and ensure that everything that you had to do today was done so that this time could be allotted to this. So I'm sure many more of these things I'm talking about, our speaker today will expound on them. I can understand, these tenets of project management and planning. Awesome. So before I had to leave the meeting because of my network, I was talking about how my own weekend went. And I said, it's been fine so far. It started yesterday evening. I went for a concert, the Oma concert, and it was mind-blowing. And today has been restful. So yeah, that's it on my end. Right about now, I'm going to be reading out the bio of our speaker so that we can get right into it. I would like us to pay rapt attention to all that she will be saying. She'll be speaking for 45 minutes. Afterwards, we'll have a session for Q&As, so you can ask as many questions as you have, and get the answers that would guide you into effecting project management principles in your daily life and even professional life. Right. So once again, welcome to Engage with Africa Initiative monthly training session. Let's put our hands together in the comment section. Yes, let's feel the energy. Some of us have said we had restful days, so I believe we have enough energy to be active in today's meeting. Yes. All right. So now I'm going straight into the bio of our amazing speaker. Right. She's a beautiful woman with so much knowledge and wisdom, and I am excited to hear her speak to us this evening. Right. So our speaker for today is Miss Rehanat Amusu, a project manager. She's a strategic and results-driven project management professional with several years of cognitive experience in fast-paced organizations across different industries in Nigeria. So we have an all-rounded, well-baked professional speaking to us this evening. She has been active in industries ranging from technology and engineering to urban development to media and production, business operations, healthcare, non-profits. My goodness. At this point, I believe I should have applause in the comment section, just flowing in. Let's show our speaker some love. She's part of us. We all know her. So for today, she's our esteemed speaker. So let's accord her that regard and love and energy. Also, we have industries of data integration as well as research. She's an articulate and diplomatic communicator. I can attest to this because I know Rehanat to some extent. She's adept at managing all stages of project life cycles with a diverse network of stakeholders to manage their needs. Her areas of specializations include project management, urban development, advanced business strategy, and infrastructure planning and management. She is a registered town planner and a member of the Project Management Institute Nigeria chapter. So we have a well-rounded, well-experienced, well-affiliated speaker giving us nuggets of wisdom today. I hope we're excited because I am. And she's going to be taking us on project planning and management. Another fun fact that is not in this official bio is that Rehanat is a lover of all things tourism and travel. So amongst the officious characteristics I've read out, she also loves to explore, have fun, and enjoy adventures. So I'm sure that she has a wealth of wisdom and experiences to share to us today. So now with applause, resounding applause in the comment section, let it be like a heavy downpour that I can hear it. Let's put those applause at least for a decent 10 seconds before I call up our speaker. Yes, Bolanle, I'm feeling your energy more. Yes, Dr. Bolan, thank you. Where are other attendees? Let me feel the applause. Let me feel the applause. Let me see it. Let me hear it. Okay, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. David, awesome. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it. Jennifer, thank you. Yes, it's getting louder. It's getting louder. One more person, so I can call our esteemed speaker, who is going to give us the final set of applause. I'm waiting. Thank you. Now, let us welcome our amazing, beautiful, intelligent, talented speaker for today, Rehanat Amusu. You have the floor, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. For a second, I was looking behind my shoulder that, I mean, who is Bamshi talking about in all of But yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Bamshi. I'm very flattered. Yes, so thank you. Hello everyone. Good evening. Bamshi has given a very interesting introduction. Yes, I like to call myself the all-rounder project manager, right? Something that is interesting is for my kind of person, I'm not I'm not one to easily get boxed. So sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, I like this industry. It would be good to see what's happening there. And if I find an opportunity, trust me to move, right? So in the last 10 years of my life, I've moved across about 5, 6 industries, which is very interesting. Right. So one thing about this moving across industries is it gives very diverse perspectives, right? It gives very diverse perspectives. It gives a lot of um, intelligence to a large extent. It opens your mind a lot when moving around. And then coupled with moving around industries, I also like to move around spaces. That's part of the unofficial introduction that Bamiche gave earlier. I like to move around spaces. It means that when my friends call me, instead of saying, hi, how are you? The first question is, hi, where are you? You know, that kind of a thing. So that's a quick one about me. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, and
And so
yes, I'm a
wait,
preacher
sorry
of
to
project management.
interject you. I think I should have to. Where are you speaking from?
I'm in Nigeria. That's what is important. And you can hear me clearly. You can hear me clearly, Dr. Wola. That's what is important, right? So let's leave my location for outside of this call, sir. Okay, so yes, good evening again, everyone. We're going to be talking project management. That's something that if you wake me up at whatever time of the day, I'm happy to talk about. It's a career path that's extremely interesting to me. Is somebody sharing their screen? Is somebody sharing their screen? It says I can't share my screen. Bolanle, please, or Bamishe.
You can try again. You have a co-host, right? You can try again.
Oh, great. Yeah, I can see that now. I'll share my screen shortly, but we're trying to figure that out. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate today? Let's drop it in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate today? 7, 3, 2, 1. Let us know. You never can tell. There might just be one Udogu in our midst today. That'll take your day from 1 to 100. So tell us. Okay, please confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. So the topic we're discussing, project planning and management, basis of project planning. So it means that our focus for this conversation is largely going to be around project planning. There are a lot of knowledge areas when it comes to project management, but for the sake of this conversation, we're going to tie it down a lot to project planning as it relates to a lot of all of the other aspects of project management. Quick disclaimer, I am probably one of the most interactive speakers you come across because I will not just, I don't like to have presentations where, oh, I talk for 5 minutes and then my audience responds in 5 minutes. That's not exactly the most efficient approach for me. That means I will be doing a lot of talking. We're doing these presentations and learning from each other together a lot. So if you are going to drop your phone somewhere and turn a bar, please carry your phone beside you as you're turning the bar because you'll be doing a lot of talking to me in the course of this conversation. Thank you. Now let's get to it. Our learning objectives are quite simple. I've streamlined it to just 3 things so that we're able to better manage time and plan this project, which is this presentation, effectively. We're going to be looking at understanding the concept of project planning and management. we're going to also ensure that we understand the key principles and benefits for project planning. And then we'll look at the requisite skills for developing project plans that result in optimal benefit delivery. So yes, key definitions, the project. I think I had a couple of the introductions, and Amusu mentioned that yes, project management is a life skill. That's something that I like to emphasize a lot wherever I go. It's a life skill. Before you decided to join this call today, I'm sure that you had it as part of your plans for the day, and a couple of decisions were made for you to arrive at your decision to be here. So yes, it's a life skill that we all need to adopt. It's something that applies to all aspects of life. So when you hear project management, don't exactly assume that, oh, it has to do with building a physical product, right? As long as you're delivering value, you're running a project. So the key definitions, temporary and value, those are the key definitions when it comes to project for me. It means that there's a beginning and there's an end to this endeavor. That's why we have it as a project. And at the end of this endeavor, there's going to be value add, right? Project planning, defining the scope, the goals, and the deliverables, and then identifying resources and tasks. It means that this project that we want to do, what exactly is our expected outcome? What's the deliverable we're looking at? What will be the goals of this conversation, right? And then project management, that's using the specific skills, knowledge, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value. You can see that that keyword is there, value. There's a lot of value add. Adding value is extremely important when it comes to project management. Having said this, on my next slide, we're going to do a 3 to 4 minute conversation so that we can get into it properly. Yeah, my audience, they are going to be helping me. A lot of the examples I'll be giving will be coming from the audience so that we can better relate. Abraham Lincoln says, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. I'm going to open the floor for about 2-3 minutes to have us talk about this, right? So I'd like responses from everyone on the call. If you do agree, please tell me why you agree with this. If you do disagree, please tell me why you disagree. Do you think that this is an effective approach to cutting down a tree? You say, oh, you have 6 hours to cut down this tree. And then Abraham Lincoln says he's going to spend 4 hours sharpening the tree. Does that even sound sensible? Like you're going to spend over 80% of the time that you, no, not 80% now. 4 hours is 1/3, about 65% on sharpening the axe. So let's discuss. Who is going to go first? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Has this ever worked in any aspect of a project that you worked on before now? We have 5 minutes. Let's get to it. I will not continue if I didn't get a response. So who is going to help us?
Hey, Raymond here. Yeah, Raymond here. Good evening, right? So I think
Hi,
I agree
Ramon. Good evening.
So I think I agree with what Abraham
You agree? Okay, let's hear your
I think
thoughts.
I do agree, right? Because if you are planning, let's use it here, right? Because if you are probably chopping down with tree with a axe rather, I'm not sure you would go effectively, right? So spending I think maybe the hours, the way it has been put here literally is like it's quite ridiculous. But planning, right? We understand that for a very tedious job like cutting down a tree, you would have to have a very effective tool, right? And so spending time to sharpen that particular tool you intend to use to chop down the tree is very much important. So it relates to proper planning in our day-to-day activities, right? So before you venture into doing something, you have to really plan, right? State out some of the things you tend to achieve and how you intend to achieve them. And it helps, basically. You don't have to just dive in and just start working. Just plan ahead and try to see how it will work. I think that's my take on it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Raymond. Any other person quickly? Oh, what is the contrary opinion? I want to listen to somebody's contrary opinion. Do we have anyone with a contrary opinion?
Yeah, I do.
Thank you. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. One of the things I understand about projects is projects are unique in nature, right? So I wouldn't just predetermine what I would do first in terms of how much time I'm going to devote to sharpening the hacks. Sometimes it might require me not to even sharpen the hacks, as it were, right? So it depends on the nature of what I want to do at the time. But just to dissociate my mind from what Abraham Lincoln is actually referring to, the activity of sharpening the hacks should not be seen from the angle of how much time you need to spend on it, but the necessity for you to carry out that activity. What do I mean by that? It's important for you to have a strong tool for you to be able to carry out the activity or the exercise so that you'll be able to hit the nail on the head in delivering the value at the end of the day. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So, well, there's no wrong or right answers as far as this phrase or this quote is concerned, right? There's usually, and that's the good thing about managing projects, because there are a lot of perspectives to it. There are a lot of, you have to see, there's a holistic approach to managing projects. So there are really no right or wrong answers, right? If you say, give me 6 hours and then I'll spend 4 hours sharpening the axe, it doesn't exactly mean that he will just hold the axe and he's sharpening just the axe. That 4 hours will probably mean, oh, he has to know the kind of the tree that it is. He has to know what part of the tree to cut so that it falls down in time. And like the Bolan said, sometimes you might even figure out that you don't even need an axe. And what you actually need is these machines that are used to uproot trees, probably just uproot the old tree. Or sometimes you just realize that if you pick, there are some kind of plants that if you pluck a stem one way or the other, it's so fragile that it just falls off. But either ways, the conclusion from this phrase is, before you actually just carry the axe and say you want to cut the tree, there's some thinking that has happened. That's the end point of this phrase. That's the point that I'm trying to, that I would like to pay more emphasis to as far as this phrase is concerned, so that there's some thinking that goes into it before it's actually done, which is where project planning comes in, right? It means that that's the phase where we get to do the thinking. That's the phase where we need to even figure out how we want to do what we want to do. So we're not wasting resources and we're not wasting time. So project planning basically is a crucial part of project management that involves a detailed plan, basically. So it's a detailed plan to outline the steps and resources that you need. Like I said earlier, say, oh, we want to cut a tree. No, I think we should drop this cutting a tree example. I'll pick another example from the audience. Bamishe or Bola, please give me any recent project that you worked on. Let's use that as an example for this particular conversation at this time. Please feel free to unmute your mic and tell us about a project that you worked on in recent times. Bamishe and Bola still on the call. If they are not, Jennifer, please help us.
Yeah. Bamisha, are you going or I should?
Okay, Bola, please go ahead. Since Bamishe is not responding.
I mean, there was this the last Children's Day. No. The last there's this word this youth skill program that was done at Ibadan for 7 days.
Great,
yes,
great. Perfect example.
Yes.
Thank you, Bola. So we're going to use that project for a couple of minutes, and then if the need arises, we will switch. So yes, project planning, in the context of project planning, right, we need to outline what are the steps, what are the resources, what are the objectives, what values should we expect from carrying out this program in Ibadan. Before that project was done, you probably have to say, oh, where in Ibadan do we want to? Say, oh, if we need to use this place, who do we need to talk to? If we need to talk to this person, are there people of influence around this person that we can use instead of going directly to this person? How many people do we want to train? How many facilitators do we need? Would it be an in-person session? Would it be a virtual session? Would it be an hybrid session? What date are we going to look at during this? What's the timeline? We will decide that it's 1 week or it's 3 days. How many hours in this day is it, right? Then we look at resources. What do we need when it comes to finance, when it comes to human resource, when it comes to, a lot of all of those kind of things. That's basically what project planning is. The point where you sit and think critically to say, oh, what do we need? And how are we going to do what we need to do, right? And then we'll go further to break it down. The vertical planning, horizontal planning, right? I try as much as possible not to speak too much PM jargons so that we're all able to relate, because in the introduction, I figured that we all have a lot of very different backgrounds and areas of expertise. Right, so vertical planning basically is usually adopted for waterfall projects. Like waterfall is a methodology in project management. Right? It means that, oh, this is what we want to do, and then we go pap, pap, pap. This is how we're going to do it from the beginning to the end. We can virtually see the end from the beginning and outline what we need to do. While for horizontal planning, that's usually adapted for agile projects. It means that we're going to deliver value incrementally or iteratively. It means that we'll do a bit, you look at it and say, oh, this works. Now add this. So for example, say you want to make your wedding dress, right? And then the designer goes, oh, I have done the concept. And then you approve, oh yes, I like the mesh that was used. I like the beads that was used. I like the rope that was used. So this is approved. And then you got the designer goes ahead to say, oh, now let's work on the sleeves. Then they work on the sleeves and they approve, right? That's the designer delivering incremental value for your dress. However, for the iterative approach, right? So we're delivering in different iterations, right? It's like many things that don't exactly negate the other. So say for example, while your designer is making your dress, the designer can be making your headwear as well, right? So that, oh, there are different versions of this thing, there are different iterations, as long as the objective is basically to deliver your wedding dress, right? That's how it works. Now, so let's look at the approaches, right? When it comes to an efficient project plan, because many times what happens is, in a bid to save time, we end up wasting time because we didn't spend time planning. And I'll give real examples from my experience as a PM. I've worked on projects where, oh, this project is coming, everybody's all geared up. But because the client doesn't exactly make any commitments, at some point, everybody loses morale, right? And say, whenever the client is ready, we'll pick up on this project. And then we're just talking about it. Then, say it's a 6-month project that's supposed to start in July, for example. And then all through June, we've already done a very high level critical thing. It's, oh, we'll just do this on this project, right? And then the client doesn't pay until today. That is 29th of July. And then it's a Saturday for a project that needs to start on Monday. And then we started that project, went on the day the client made commitments, and of course that means that the project is fully launched. It now became a case of, we don't have time. The client needs this delivered in 2 weeks. The client. So there was a lot of rush, right? And maybe to save time, we all just went head on, say, we go the raw farm, let's wing it. And then we all went head on into the project. And of course, we all know what will most likely be the outcome. We ended up spending more resources than we needed. We ended up spending even more time. And by more time, yes, we still delivered to the client in 2 weeks. But that was only achievable because it meant that rather than leave our offices at 5 o'clock, we eventually had to work extra hours up until 10 and 11 at some point. Now, because you're in the office until 10 or 11, it means that the company, to protect your safety, has to get a driver to pick you up from the office to the house, which is more resources, right? So the fact that we're trying to save time eventually led to wasting time and resources because we didn't have an efficient project plan. And that leads us into this approach, right? Say, oh, how do we approach creating an effective, efficient project plan? Right? It's design thinking sessions to say, oh, there's a team. There's usually a team for any project, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 3 people, there's always a team, right? It means that it's important to conduct brainstorming sessions, right? You need to look at what's the scope, what will this project not be? That's one question that I like to answer a lot when I get on project. Because many a times, everybody knows what it will be. The project is to improve vaccine uptakes in a community in Jigawa State, right? That is it. But many a times, as project managers, we don't ask ourselves, what will this project not be? And the moment we're able to answer that question in our design thinking sessions, also aids how we execute projects a lot. it's easy to say, oh, the house is basically a 4-bedroom duplex now. That's what it is. But we're also, many a times, we're not able to clearly outline and say, yes, it's a 4-bedroom duplex. But what this project will not be is a project, it will not be a project that has 95 columns in the front of it, all in the name of aesthetics, right? Or it will not be a project that, okay, so let's go back to the example that Bola gave. We know that this project is youth, it's empowering youth, delivering youth empowerment, basically, that's what it is. But we need to also answer the question of what it will not be. And in this context, it's easy for us to say, oh, once young people are gathered, there's a high tendency that wants to translate everything to fun. We don't like all of the seriousness that comes with it. So it's better to, at the point of design thinking sessions, say, these projects will not evolve into a concert at the end of the day, even if we eventually bring a Minister Johnson to come and facilitate one of the sessions, right? Because it's possible that on that project, what we want him to do is facilitate a session for the young gospel artists in it. That's what the project entails. It doesn't entail him ministering or performing one of his favorite songs and then disrupting the whole thing. I hope we get that clearly. And then the next approach is the value of cross-functional teams, right? We'll use the same example that Bola gave earlier. So yes, there are team members. For example, I know that there are team members that will focus on logistics. There are team members that will focus on welfare. There are team members that will focus on the pitch deck or the presentation documents for this session. So having a cross-functional team is an extremely important approach to having effective project plan. Because what happens is it gives you diverse perspectives and expertise to projects. It also aids collaboration a lot because you're able to listen to each other, share ideas, and understand where the loopholes can possibly be as a team. Then technology integration is also another approach that we really need to adopt. And by that, it means that, there's a lot of the AI impacts coming on board. There's blockchain technology, the Internet of Things. There's, anything at all that involves integrating technology to make life easier for you in developing your project plan. Please feel free to adopt it, right? Adopt technology integration. I know that if we go back to the example that Bola gave, at some point, some people probably went live, right? So that virtual attendees can see a bit of the program. Or at some point, it could even be a hybrid session where some people that are not there physically can be there online. That's a way to look at technology integration when it comes to project plans, right? Then implementing measurement tools, right? It's extremely, extremely important because what happens many times when we're planning projects is, the project, we want to increase traffic to our website, or we want to increase our number of followers on Instagram, for example, right? That's many times usually vague, which is why if we're going to have an efficient project plan, if we're going to have a project plan that works, there has to be metrics for measuring the impact, right? We're improving website traffic, right? So KPIs like how many people visited, how many people that visited became buyers. That's a different metric to measure success. How many people that bought on first attempt became retained clients or retained visitors to our website. That's a metric that could be used. If we look at the Instagram example, to say, how many people followed the page from this particular reel, for example. Another metric would be how many people that follow the page are engaged with the page, because sometimes it's very easy to click follow, but doesn't exactly mean that they were engaged with the page, right? We want to increase traffic to the website by how many percent, right? There's the smart metric to measuring success, right? I'm not going to go into all of that because I believe we all know what that is. It has to be as specific as possible, measurable, all of that. So we need to clearly, in this our design project planning session, also define the tools that we're going to use to measure impact, right? And why? So why do we need to adopt all of these approaches that I have talked about over the last couple of minutes? It gives everybody clear objectives and goals. everybody is on the same page, everybody is in alignment. It means that everybody understands that this is exactly what we want to do. So when we say our goal is we want to increase the number of followers that we have to 3,000 by the end of the month, somebody is not thinking, oh, my followers, it can just be anybody. And then there's a truckload of people from, for example, Pakistan. This is not a disclaimer, this is not an indictment of Pakistani people, but they're just the very common people that disturb me on Instagram with their spam accounts. So this is just a random example, right? So if we say that we want to increase our number of followers to 3,000, and then there's somebody on the team that just assumes that we can have all these Pakistani people that are just spamming our accounts with hello there, follow us. That's not exactly a good metric, right? Because it means that even though we now have a number of followers, they're not exactly what we need. So one benefit for efficiently planning projects is alignment. Everybody knows exactly what they need to do. Everybody knows what their part to this will be, right? It provides a clear roadmap. From the onset, we can see that this is exactly how we're going to approach this. And this is what we need to achieve, right? It also gives room for efficient resource management. Like I said earlier, it helps us save time, help us save resources, and it helps us deal with many a times over allocation of resources. There are usually very few projects where you have the utilization of resources anyway. But many a times the greatest concern for project managers is over allocation of resources. And when it comes to risk management, project planning, proper project planning also helps us identify this risk early enough, and then gives us room to develop strategies to mitigate this risk as well. Improves communication. The fact that we are talking to each other a lot helps us with how best to communicate. In the course of planning for our project, we would have known that, Rehanat, if you want to talk to Rehanat, don't send her a WhatsApp message that go to sleep. She probably wouldn't respond. But you pick up your phone and call her, she responds immediately. Or you say, for Bamishe, it's emails that she responds to. For Bolanle, tag her on Instagram, those kind of things, right? So if we're planning, because of planning projects properly, we're also able to talk about communication across our stakeholders and even as team members. So how do we keep people informed? How do we keep you engaged throughout the project? Budget management, I mentioned that earlier, right? To save cost control, and financial planning. Then time. It helps us with saying, this is what will happen from this point to this point. And then where there are setbacks, it's also easy for us to say, oh no, we can hold on with this right now while we focus on this, right? Still on benefits, quality assurance. I've mentioned value a lot in because of this conversation. So it's extremely important that we give value for every project that we run, which is why in the course of planning, we're able to say, well, what are the standards that we're going to adopt to measure acceptance for this project? How do we monitor this, right? And then also let's look at team collaboration. I already said earlier to say, oh, it defines roles and responsibilities. This is what this person will do. This is what that person will do. Promotes coordination and all of that. So I'll go quickly back to the example of the projects that we're using as an example, right? Bamishe knows from the onset that even though she's a fantastic host, everybody knows that Bamishe wants to hold the microphone. For whatever reason, on this project team, Bamishe, all of your communication will be written communication. It means that focus on sending emails, text messages, and copywriting. Please don't hold the microphone. Those kind of things. There's a lot of roles and responsibilities being defined. There's a lot of coordination happening so that there are no overlaps and gaps, because that's also something that creates conflicts on teams a lot. Then performance management as well is another benefit of project planning. It also helps your stakeholders to better manage their expectations, right? So they're able to tell that, oh, it's at the end of July that we will supply. Okay, so let's give an example. I mentioned the vaccine uptake improvement project earlier. It's at the end of the month that we would have spoken to all stakeholders, right? So that our client or our last mile beneficiaries are not expecting that it's at the end of the month that we're delivering vaccines to their coaching facility, right? So project planning helps everybody manage expectations. and then it increases likelihood of delivering the project on time. Because if I know that everybody on my project team knows that this is what I should submit at this time, it's a way of motivating me to also keep track. Project planning also, another benefit is documentation and learning. It helps all of us have something to hold on to, right? Especially if all team members are not in the same place, if it's a hybrid team or if it's a remote team, documentation is something that works a lot with delivering value on projects, right? So you're able to say, oh, this will probably create a shared folder where everybody can go back to at any point in time to say, oh, this is how we plan, rather than running around in the teams and wasting time that could have been channeled into actual of value, right? And then organization strategic alignment is the final benefit. It gives everybody, it demonstrates the value that we're all giving on the project. Before we go into the next subsection, which is skills that we need to be able to explain the project plan, I'd like to ask if there are any questions at this point, or if we can go on. If you're following me, just type follow in the comments or in the chat so I know that we're still together. Please type follow in the chat so that I know that we're still together. Thank you. I can see that we're following. Thank you. Somebody's typing follow. Okay, following. Thank you everyone for following. Now let's go into the skills that we need to develop sustainable project plans. Because yes, it's easy to say, oh, this is how we are going to achieve project plan. This is how we should do it. But there's something very interesting about project management, it is that there are certain skills that you need to succeed as a project manager. Right? It's extremely important that you have this skill set if you're going to succeed in a project. Because remember, you're going to be working with people. And people are the greatest, people are the greatest resource to manage. Extremely, extremely interesting to manage. Right? I like to use the word interesting. So I don't project negativity when talking about team members. But yes, you're going to develop sustainable, emphasis on sustainable project plans, emphasis on project plans that will deliver utmost value, which is basically what project management is about. There are a couple of skills that you need to develop. Adaptability is one of them. Right? It means that, so yes, we have said Bamishe should not hold microphone on this our project because we want her to focus on emails and whatnot. Bolanle should hold the microphone. But when Bolanle was coming and she got to the car park, by the time she got to the car park, her car key got stuck in her door. So she's not able to open the car door to pick out a document that she needs for her to be able to hold the microphone. It's a possibility on the project, right? So one skill in that kind of situation, we can easily say, oh, as a project team lead, hello, Bamishe, you're going to hold the microphone while also sending emails. Or you can quickly send, let's prioritize what emails need to go out. Are these able to go out now while you it means that you need to quickly pivot to unforeseen challenges, right? Nobody expected that Bola's car is going to get stuck and then something will happen. But it has happened, it has happened. We're not going to cry wolf. So as a project team lead, as a project manager, one very interesting skill, very, very important skill is adaptability. You need to quick pivots, right? No time to check time. That's what this has happened. Okay, instead of crying wolf, what can we do? Up next is emotional intelligence, right? And I've written the influence versus authority. If you're going to be a successful project manager, you need to, as much as possible, learn to lead with influence rather than authority. I have been there. I have experienced both sides of it, right? And I'm telling you from experience that leading with influence is a lot easier. Leading with influence achieves much more better results than leading with authority. So yes, even though you're the project manager, everybody knows that you're leading the team. Developing influence over your team will help you achieve more faster and better. Because many a times when you lead with authority, so yes, you lead with authority on the project. When the project ends, there's already, you don't exactly get the best, the people that you. And in life, that's not exactly the best approach to succeeding in life, right? So yes, influence about authority. Emotional intelligence, again, when it comes to relationship, when it comes to conflict resolution, right? You need to understand that it is extremely impossible. Your project will never, ever be without conflict. Yes, I said what I said. It's my full chest. There will always be conflicts on projects. And by conflicts, it doesn't necessarily have to be World War III kind of conflict. It could be something as simple as team members not agreeing to certain approaches. So as project team leads, as youth leaders, right, we should develop our emotional intelligence skills to the point where conflict resolution becomes a walk in the park for us, right? Up next is strategic thinking. You need to be able to think critically. And when you are thinking, you're not thinking about the benefits of now. You're thinking about long-term implications as it relates to project alignment. So as much as possible, we'll still, whatever, while thinking strategically, we need to always tie back to the value that we're delivering on the project, right? Innovation is up next. Or you need to be able to embrace new ideas if you're going to succeed as a project manager. It's a major skill that you need for sustainable project plans. So the fact that we had a project plan that we used for the development of a commercial building in Ikeja doesn't necessarily mean that that exact plan is what works in Banana Island, because there are lots of factors. In Banana Island, the soil is not the same. In Banana Island, the security architecture is not the same. In Banana Island, the closing time is not the same as Ikeja. On some projects in Ikeja, you can walk up until after 6. In Banana Island, I know that by 5 o'clock, they're training everybody out. So again, back to developing project plans, you need to be able to embrace new ideas. So, oh, this thing has worked in all of our projects in Ikeja, but now that we are moving here, it's not going to work. Right? It also gives room for you to continuously evolve as a project team. Collaboration is something that you need to also develop. So as a project manager, you cannot be a one-man mopo. It's very impossible, because you're going to end up leading yourself. And even in leading yourself, you still need to, your mind needs to collaborate with your body. Because if your mind says, I should go to the market, she goes to the market, she goes to the market. But if your body doesn't physically get up, you get dressed and go to the market, you're not able to achieve anything, right? Collaboration is something else that works. Resilience, right? It means that, like I said earlier, problems, there will be setbacks. But as much as possible, you need to maintain a positive attitude. You need to be able to manage change effectively. When you're talking to your stakeholders, able to say, oh, this is why we are changing these things. Sometimes there's a good reason behind changes, but if it is not clearly communicated, you have problems on project delivery. An example that readily comes to mind is the removal of the fuel subsidy, right? I know that over the years, when we think critically, we realize, this is a lot of money that we're just throwing away. So maybe, yes, we actually need to take out fuel subsidy. But if it's not communicated clearly, if the rationale behind this is not communicated, if the immediate quick win is not communicated, everything around this change that we're about to build, it is not communicated properly of the problem. So change management is one skill that as project managers you need to develop if you're going to have successful project delivery. Right? Decision making is something that works. You need to be able to make up your mind. You can't be for everybody and for nobody when it comes to managing projects. Decision making is extremely important. Communication, you need to be able to clearly say the things that you need. And then lastly, we're going to look at ethical leadership. Ethics is extremely important in all spheres of life, in all areas of life, in whatever tenets of life we decide to focus on. Ethics is something that no profession does. And even as project managers, I know that there's a PMI, there's a guideline, there's an ethical guideline for project managers across the globe that's developed by project management institutions. There's an ethical guideline for town planners, there's an ethical guideline for architects, whatever profession that you choose, there's an ethical guideline. So yes, we want to develop project plans. We want our project planning to be done really well. it's extremely important that we're upholding ethical standards and integrity. I'll give an example, right? So in planning our projects, we know that, oh, this, I'm trying to think of a quick example. Okay, good. So we're going to go back to the example that Bola gave, the youth empowerment project that we had. So say, for example, in the course of planning that project, we realized that the hall that we want to use inside, this is an hypothetical situation. So maybe we go to a school, a well-known secondary school in Ibadan, and we say, oh, hello, Mr. Principal, we want to have this program. We intend to use your school hall to have this program. And the principal says, oh, fantastic idea. I welcome all of you. But for you to use this hall, you're going to have to bribe me, because I will need to bribe the director of our district for us to give you approval in 2 days instead of 2 weeks. Right? Yes, it's fast tracks your project, but it's not something that works for us as project managers. It is not our way of life as project managers. It's not an approach that we want to live with at all, because it defies the ethics of the profession, defies our integrity as a person, and it ultimately disrupts the value that we're adding on the project. Because the people that we're trying to empower, over time, if they find out that this was the approach to even eventually getting the results that we give to them, it mars our image, it solves the integrity that we're trying to build. It destroys a lot of things that we've worked really hard to build in the long run. I'll leave us all with this quote by another person, which is Benjamin Franklin. We're not going to be discussing this one because of time, but it says if you fail to plan, it means that you plan to fail. That's to tell us how extremely important it is to plan on our projects, on our everyday lives, on whatever it is that we decide to proceed with. Thank you very much. Do we have questions? Please feel free to unmute your mic. Let's talk about the presentation that has just happened. If there are questions in the chat, please, my co-hosts, Bola and Babshe, please help me. If somebody wants to talk, go ahead to unmute your mic and just
Thank you so much. Please, can we put our hands together for Rehanat, for that beautiful teaching, training, presentation, all of the above. Please, can we just put our hands together? That was amazing. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot, I'm very sure. And I'm sure that from what you've said, some of us here have questions, on how we can further implement it in our personal lives. Like they will say when we're in school, if you don't have questions, it means you were not listening. So if you were listening and you are willing to actually internalize or implement these things in your life, then you should have questions such as, okay, how do I go about it? Or what if? You should start being able to relate it to your personal experiences, and those should birth questions, right? So if you have questions, you can either raise your hand if you want to speak, or you can type it in the chat section. So if you want to unmute us, just raise your hand so that we can have it in an orderly fashion. Whilst you're doing that, still, please put your hands together in comment section if you have not yet. Yes. Let us appreciate Rehanat. Thank you so much, Rehanat. So right now, we're waiting for the questions. You can either raise your hand or type it in the chat section.
If there are no questions, I have questions.
Okay, one just came in.
Okay,
and
great.
Then also your question, please put it on the side too. Also, would like to hear from you. So this one says, how do I know the right skill sets to use in project planning? Or am I to acquire all the skill sets that you shared? Yes, please kindly answer that.
Okay, very, very good question, right? If you remember, I did say when I was explaining the slides on skills that you need, I did say when I talked about leading with influence or leading with authority, I did say that I have been on both sides of the divide, right? So what skills specifically do you need, or do you need all? To answer that question straight up, you need all of these skills and more. But there's more to that answer, in that you need to understand that it's a journey, right? I I've led projects where I cried. I'll just be on my way to work and I'll cry, right? But over time, as I became conscious of the things that were troubling me, as I developed my skills, I am now at a point where if you say, oh, the permanent secretary of this ministry did not approve certain things, I don't fret. Because I know that we will analyze this situation and come up with a solution. But it's not something that happens in 1 week or in 2 weeks. It's a skill set that you develop over time, right? So it means that today, if you communicated clearly, right? If you focus on improving your communication skills, tomorrow you can decide that it's your collaboration skills you want to better improve. Or next tomorrow, you decide that it's emotional intelligence. How do I lead myself and lead other people? But what's most important is that there's a deliberate attempt to improve your skill set across board, because it's a chicken and egg situation. All of it is extremely important, because yes, emotional intelligence is good. You need to be able to adapt. You need to be able to manage changes. You need to ensure that your stakeholders are top notch. All of those kind of things. So yes, please. So in a nutshell, take it easy on yourself. Yes, you need all of these skills, but don't get overwhelmed trying to solve or acquire all of these skills in 2 weeks. Give it time, and then learn it. Be gracious to yourself in learning all of these skills and developing over time. Thank you. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much. You did justice to that question. Okay, we have another one. Is there a way to determine or select the right approach to project planning? So is there a way to identify that? Is there a way to determine that?
Identify the right approach to planning your project. I know that it's either in my second or the third slide, right, where I did explain vertical planning and horizontal planning. You don't just wake up and say, to bomb basket, and then you pick any of those approaches. That's not exactly how it works. There has to be reasons for determining the approach. Say, oh, what methodology are we going to be adopting? How are we going to? That's where. So the first thing you want to do is even understand the value that is to be delivered, right? To say, what is the end goal? What is the end goal of this project, right? If you know what the end goal is, if you know what the objectives are, if you know what the benefits is, if you know what the scope is, if you know what it is not, like I mentioned earlier, if you know what it is, if you know what it is not, it's easier, a lot easier for you to be able to determine the approach. Say, oh, how best do we take on this planning? Would we consider vertical planning? Would we consider horizontal planning? So knowing your scope, knowing your objectives, knowing your goals, discussing the value that you're about to deliver is a major determinant as to how you want to do it. Interestingly, something else that a lot of people consider as well when determining approaches to plans is timings and budget, the kind of contracts that you have. If I have a fixed cost contract, I most likely want to do everything as quickly as possible because of all of the fluctuations in prices in Nigeria. But if I have a contract that is flexible enough, I want to maybe consider delivering value incrementally or delivering value iteratively, if you understand what I mean. So there are many factors to consider. Look at all of the factors that are at play before deciding. It's not guesswork. It's not how the projecting lead is feeling. All of these factors should be critically analyzed before arriving at an approach. Remember that this conversation is just tied to planning. So there are a lot of other aspects of project management that this conversation does not cover. I hope that helps. Thank you. Okay, Bamse. Do we have any other questions? I can't see any other questions. So I'm going to assume that we're good, right? Can anyone hear me?
I guess Vamisha is out of the call. Maybe her internet tripped off or something. I'm just checking out to see that she's not
Oh, okay. Maybe
the meeting. I guess I internet stripped off.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions that we have.
Okay, we've answered all the questions in the chat box. Does anyone else have any other
us the
contribution before?
Okay, while we're waiting for any other contribution, this is okay. I'll leave us with this, right? So what are the next steps? As much as possible, I don't like to just talk to people and say, oh, that's simple, right? Myself would say, after now, this is what we should do, right? Invest in courses, the kick-off courses, is the most basic one for people that are not members of the Project Management Institute. When you become members, there are lots of other resources. Another thing I'd like to mention is let's be deliberate about our project management journey. It's one thing to know all of the theoretical principles. It's another thing to find opportunities to deliver these theoretical principles, right? So we need to apply all of the knowledge. Let's be very intentional about our project management journey. And then please stay connected with me here. Here, that takes you to LinkedIn. So please search LinkedIn, search Instagram. I don't use Twitter, but LinkedIn or Instagram, you can reach out to me for any other questions that you're not able to answer here, or something else that might just pop up in the course of the rest of the day when you're thinking about this conversation. Thank you, everyone. Now I'm putting off my microphone so that Bola Obamishika can take it up. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, really. Thank you for doing justice to the questions they were asked, and for the whole for the whole slides presentation and everything was practical, and it was it was very practical and relatable. So thanks again. Does anyone else have any question or any contribution or clarification? Any other thing you'd like us to address before our speaker goes off? Before she turns off her microphone. Okay, Raymond is asking if we can get the slides.
Oh, yes, I'm happy to share that. I'll drop that for Bola. Please reach out to Bola, and Bola will definitely share with everyone.
Okay. So yes, we can get the slides. And also, because for the last training session we had, it was recorded and it was uploaded on our YouTube channel. So you, like, for example, I went there to have a rewatch so that I could remember some of the things that were spoken about. So I believe that also after the session is recorded and is going to be, I'd like to assume the session is recorded. Yes. So yes, we can always go back to have like a replay, and also we have the slides readily available whenever you are interested. I'm sure we'll share it on the group also. So yes, thank you. Any other question or clarification? Okay. So I guess we have the please, who's Raf Akins? Raf Akins. I don't think we know you, and you didn't join when we did the introduction. Raf Akins, please